Hello, good morning to all of you. Time check, 41 minutes past 6. And we know that we're late. Not just a bit late, we're late.
Yeah, we had some technical challenges to deal with. But thank God we're on air now. So if you're just joining us, good morning to you. We hope that you're well. It's the morning after the State of the Nation address by the President. A lot of things happened yesterday and have continued to happen even after that speech, Roland.
Well, definitely. And there were some important things, I believe, in the State of the Nation address. And I loved it. I personally did love it. Yeah.
We totally didn't expect that call on the NPP and the NDC to do away with what we call party militias.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though the president put it as vigilante groups, but there've been comments thereafter. It looks like we're moving on. The NCCE has been at the center of this name, shame, disband the vigilante groups.
Yeah, and it's important that we put all that into perspective, because the president, as the chief executive of the land, the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, and also as the father of the land, so to speak, in our socio-cultural terms, needs to lead the way. And I believe that that call, no matter how critical or people will critique it, comes in handy, because then it gives the opportunity for not only the two top political parties, but the others also to join in, because definitely, I mean, they pull the smaller ones along. And we're hoping that we can have some lasting solution to it. I've read on various media, including in some of the newspapers this morning, some suggestions that maybe the approach of just saying that we're disbanding them is not enough, because we seem to have given them training of some sort, have equipped them somewhat, and so what do we do with them?
Yeah.
And I believe that will be part of the whole approach of dialogue.
The good thing for us on the show this morning is that the chairperson of the NCCE, Madam Josephine Nkrumah, is on our show this morning, so we'll put some of the critical issues to her. They've been making the call now that the president has spoken. What does that mean, really, if we begin to break it down? So we're breaking it down with her. But straight away, we want to tell you what's in the newspapers with the rest of the time that we've got. So let's begin the newspaper review, Roland.
Well, definitely. So we'll start with the Ghanaian Times. It has on the front page, State of the Nation address. President calls for ceasefire, orders NPP and NDC into dialogue to end violent attacks, ending political violence and vigilantism. The story, well elaborated, on page 16 of the Ghanaian Times. Other stories, so the next story dominating the front page, the only story after this, so the main one, is government earmarks 1 billion Ghana cedis for low-income housing project. And that's on page 15. Let's go to the back page. And the back page, of course, relating to all the discussions we're having in the public right now. It's illegal to own firearms without license. The back page of the Ghanaian Times is giving us that indication with a published story. And government urged to resource domestic violence secretariat. So it's all in great order.
Let's continue with the Daily Graphic newspaper. On the front page, let's come together to stop vigilantism. President tasked NPP and NDC. Wisconsin UCC clash today in final of tertiary business sense challenge. And the new company takes over ECG February 27. That's how far we've come with this concession agreement. 5 defendants demand document from Unibank's receiver. Full stories on page 20 in the paper. And then minority welcomes president call to disband vigilantes. Let's check out what's in the center spread of the Daily Graphic. Well, in pictures, how it all went down from the beginning of the President's State of the Nation address. Rather colorful in the center spread of the paper today. Let's look at the back page now. 15 million fertilizer. So it's $15 million fertilizer factory inaugurated in Tema. Highlights of that and the full story on the back page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Roland?
Oh, great one there. Let's look at the Daily Dispatch newspaper. And the Daily Dispatch newspaper has some interesting stories on the front page. And we have confession of one of the 7 candidates. JDM will win by 58%, not above 60%. And the story is on page 2 of the paper. Very, very interesting if you take that. But there's also a picture there on the front page. It's about that picture I even shared on my page on Facebook. Former President Jerry John Rawlings, and looking as if he's in some conferment with President Akufo-Addo after the State of the Nation address reception, or at the State of the Nation address reception, is gained prominence, widely shared on social media. We also have who will benefit from the delay in Nigeria elections. 51% of the 84 million voters below 35 years, 73 presidential candidates, 120,000 polling stations. And just yesterday I was having, yesterday I was having some argument or a discussion with a Nigerian friend of mine who lives in my community. And I told him the delay, because he's an APC man.
Okay.
Yeah. I said the delay definitely has been orchestrated by APC because it looks like the public opinion has been against PDP over the last 1 week in Nigeria.
I think it's a totally an INEC issue.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We all do know that. We have highlights of Akufo-Addo's 2019 SONA State of the Nation address, and those are the stories we have. Front page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper.
All right, here's what's on the front page of the Finder. NPP, NDC must end political violence, else I'll use legislation to do it. What does that mean? But the president did say this yesterday, one of the many conversations that we'll be having, particularly on this matter, when the NCCE chairperson joins us. Basic education to include senior high school beginning in September, according to the president. $51 million secured to complete Kufuor affordable houses. Disband vigilante groups and condemn violence, a call by the NCC. Good thing that the chairperson is on our show. EU announces €147 million intervention to boost agric in northern Ghana. Let's see what they have in the center spread, if there are some headlines there. There are. Well, details of some of the stories in the center spread. Government transforming military academy into world-class institution, says the president, and government delivering as planned. This one, they'll blow your horn. Blow your own horn, more like.
Yeah.
But there's
if you don't blow your horn, nobody else will do that for you.
So there are pictures in the center spread of the paper, but I find this very interesting. That's the chairman of the Council of State, the vice president, the speaker, and the Chief Justice. Yeah. Nice.
Very.
Okay, that's it for the Finder.
Yeah, let's look at the Daily Guide newspaper. And the Daily Guide has on the front page a number of stories. It says, let's crash vigilantism. Continues, Nana directs NPP and NDC. And we all know what the president said in relation to that. If you don't do that, I'll use the law. And we have economy in good shape, page 8. Jubilee going solar, and the president did announce that too, by August, he said. We have Akufo-Addo visits Burma camp today, and Mahama scheming to rake primary. And Daniel Osei, former ambassador, we're told, to Saudi Arabia. It's always been a heel, so. Okay, so on center spread, we have a couple of good stories. There's economy in good shape. Nana assures Ghana loses 4.66 billion Ghana cedis to tax exemptions, $51 million to fund social housing. It's also there. And so we have a number of pictures also dominating the center spread of the Daily Guide newspaper. Just have to grab a copy, get to look at all the stories. And then the pictures of the events and the scenes of the State of the Nation address.
Shall we do the Observer now? The Ghanaian Observer front page. Ghanaians hail President Akufo-Addo over SONA 2019. Short Commission doing a good job. NDC's Ofo-Swampofo. And I like the fact that the president talked about the Emil Short Commission yesterday. I think it was like a boost. And I still insist, this is way better than a criminal investigation in the violence that we saw in the Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election. Warrior killed, was you, NDC's Hawks reveal. Ghana needs $2 billion agro and industrial investment for city stability. Akufo-Addo fires NPP NDC to disband Vigilantes. Okay, back page, some sports headlines. Egypt announced venues for 2019 AFCON. Money not the reason for my return, according to Joshua Clotte. I was praying for the award to arrive. Mukarama Abdullah says, that's the Black Maiden skipper saying there. All right, details of that story. You can grab the paper and read it on the back page.
Yeah, so we have on the front page of the Herald newspaper, Akufo-Addo ignores CD depreciation and Takrade kidnap girls. We also have GCB Bank. Insider reveals detail of workers' dismissal. We have 300,000 NDC delegates elected flag bearer tomorrow, and more trouble for disputed Ho Technical University Vice Chancellor. Letters already circulating that his appointment has been revoked. And then we have the Independent. The New Independent has a story. No more vigilantism in Ghana. President warns private militia warlords. All the NDC flag bearership race. Unity is key to ensure NDC victory 2020. A story attributed to Kofi Anyidoho, advice and aspirants. Nagrat attacks Akufo-Addo, kicks against combination of subjects. NCC boss commends president for directive on party militia. And Akufo-Addo to make history. Okay. All right.
All right, then let's do the Statesman. I think it's the last paper. Okay, no, not quite. The Daily Statesman newspaper, Ghana Tunisia signed 3 cooperation agreements. Northern Agriculture gets €147 million boosts. Stop the violence. President rallies NPP NDC in passionate appeal for peace. Mahama swaps to buy NDC delegates, 300,000 Ghana cedis for each regional chair. Okay. All right, that's it for the Daily Statesman newspaper. We've got the last paper.
Yeah, we have the Independent. You know, we have the New Independent and then the Independent newspaper. So we have on the front page of the Independent, asking NPP NDC to deal with vigilantism is narrow approach, Professor Gachi, and indebtedness causing uninterrupted water delivery for services, according to a story attributed to an analyst. And so that will do for now.
All right, let's look at some of the stories of interest. Page 20, the Daily Graphic newspaper. And I'm moving away from SONA, unless you want to talk about the state of the nation. I'm trying to leave a lot of things for the conversation with the NCC chair, because it looks like we've zeroed. Okay, let's talk about some of the things that we're expecting in the address that didn't happen. I was disappointed the CD didn't come up, because it was one of the things that we're looking at. We're glad, though, that security was such a big thing, and it's obviously also been on the in the headlines. You know, so definitely what we were talking about in terms of security, with the campaign that we're on, disband party vigilantes now. I'm glad that the president made a comment about the security situation in terms of the vigilantism, and has asked the 2 major political parties, you know, to speak together and do something about this. But we're also expecting the CD, because we know that it's not doing well at all against the US dollar and the other currencies.
Well, true. And especially when the economy largely and the various sectors that tend to depend on imports as the either raw materials or the base for retailing, then it becomes more of a human interest issue for the ordinary Ghanaian.
Yeah, true.
Because ultimately, whatever is being sold on the streets would have some indication to pricing. And if what is going to be used to go buy those things, wherever they go buy them from, and then bring into the market, is going to have some price relativities, then I believe that perhaps there should have been some thoughts about speaking on it or touching on it, so that the ordinary person tends to have some level of comfort, not because something could be done in the immediate future, but because then the president, seen as the father of the nation, is thinking about it.
Besides, is the states of the nation.
But
so,
yes,
and the currency is such a big thing.
It is a big thing, but let's be realistic. There's nothing that government and Dr. Bawumia, who is the head of the economic management team, can do about the currency. We have a certain precedent.
Well, is it you saying it, or because he gave us a lot of assurances, we were confident that the city was going to be arrested?
Yes, I think sometimes we need to cut some slack, government some slack. Because
who made the promise?
Yes, they did.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but if you look at the structure of the economy, if we were growing many or perhaps contributing to industry with many of the raw materials homegrown, then we could be in a position to say that first, we can't control many things. Two, if you look at the rate of capital flight, especially either quarterly, half year, or after each fiscal year, then you get to know that we don't control many things. Telecom, for example, which generates billions of Ghana cedis to many of the players in the industry, for example, are not controlled by locals.
So when the promises were made, Roland Walker, all the things that you are outlining right now wasn't known?
Yeah, it was known. It was known, and we talked about it.
But in the face of that, you tell me something. I'm supposed to hold you by what you said. That's what I'm saying. How many people in the chamber yesterday wore traditional Ghanaian stuff made in Ghana things? We're talking about us making the dollar continue to go up and the city depreciate, correct?
True. Even if we wore traditional things.
We're not consuming what we produce is one of the things.
Yeah, true. But even that is at the secondary state of, if you look at the value chain. Because even if we're wearing anything local, this print was not made here. The cotton is not grown in Ghana.
That's why I'm saying that argument is not new.
No.
But if you come and you tell me something, then I'll hold you.
Tell you what? What am I going to do?
But you say you're going to arrest the city.
I feel it's become a very sensitive issue for government to talk about because of.
That's a shame.
Yes, because of the precedent of personalities like the vice president when he was in opposition, and even the other leading members of the party when they were in opposition to win the argument of the NDC government.
I was disappointed that a key issue, I mean, it's one of the core issues, the Ghana city.
Yeah. It is not something that we have a taps on that we can control in the short term. We can maybe do something in the long term, but in the immediate future, it's not possible. If you look at what the indications are and how the relativities are, I'm not sure.
I am glad so that when promises are made.
And we have to be realistic about the situation. Maybe government needs to talk about it and say, look, this is how it is. And this is how you need to relate to it going forward.
Roland, there are some people who are expecting that the president was going to make a comment about the missing girls in Takoradi. I don't know, is it like too far-fetched? Like, should he have said something about it?
I think he should have said something about it, especially when he made comments about party militia or vigilantism, because all dovetails into the subject of security and many other things that tend to affect ordinary people. Because largely linked to the subject of kidnapping, and if you look at how the news trickled in as a subject of how foreigners, and we're talking Nigerians, who are related to some of these incidents that have been recorded, especially in the Western region. Now, it also has a certain relation to how well we deal with issues of foreign policy, vis-a-vis what the relativities are pertaining to ECOWAS' own regional integration issues, and for which we have embraced as a country. So if we have to come to a certain state of do the discussions, then it also means that government will be touching on a very sensitive issue about how it relates to neighbors in the sub-region. And I don't think that government is in a position to deal with it tactfully at this point in time. That's how I feel. And so government can only look at it and give it to the security agencies to deal with it. I'm not sure that the president not touching on it is an indication that he doesn't think it is important. I'm thinking the president may be thinking it's a very sensitive issue. I would want the security agencies to deal with it. When I feel that I have a full grasp on it, I can convince the ordinary Ghanaian when I speak about it convincingly, then I will be in a position to do that. Yes.
Well, I don't have an opinion on that, actually, because in one breath, we say we want the institutions to work. I know that it's the state of the nation. The president possibly couldn't have touched on everything, even though I still think he should.
But kidnapping is it's been a topical issue.
So that's why I'm saying that I don't have an opinion on it.
It's actually a great composition of
link it with security.
How our current state of the nation.
But some people have said that this is state of the nation. Everybody's watching and listening to you. You have to put your best foot forward in terms of your achievements. And I didn't see it coming that he started from Dagbon. I totally didn't see that coming. Because even though Dagbon has happened, you see, the thing about us is that we tend to have very short memories. So when we're talking about, what the things that the president will say, I don't remember anybody talking about Dagbon.
Yeah, nobody did.
Yeah.
But
he started from Dagbon.
If you look at the speech of the president or the statement in its entirety from a communication angle, government wants to score good public opinion or good points. And at the end of the day, what better way for you to convince people than to look at the good side of things? Yeah. And then also communicate to them that you are doing something about most of the things they are thinking about. That is why the subject of kidnapping is so much a sensitive issue. He doesn't want to touch on it and not convince anybody that I'm not really dealing with it. Because if you take the string of issues in security that have happened over the period, it gives a conclusion to the ordinary person that government and its related institutions, especially with the commission also sitting, and ministers who are supposed to be responsible for security, not convincing people that they really were on top of issues at the point in time when those incidents happened, then you would want to look at it in such a way that you only would give an indication to people that I want to do well or protect you by way of security. But it's not all of the issues I want to talk about.
I get you, but isn't that too much PR? I mean, there are real things happening as well. So, for instance, I guess those who are advocating, those who are saying that he should have talked about the kidnapping, just to say that I am aware that this has happened and that we're doing all we can to bring back those girls, to find those girls,
Well, Mama, let's be realistic. Politics is about numbers. Politics is also about competition.
So that's the problem.
Yes.
See, that is the problem.
It happens everywhere. It's not peculiar to Ghana.
Everything is about Kokoromuti.
Yes.
And that's why some people have said,
but that is why people are in power.
If this had nothing to do with Kokoromuti, we wouldn't have had a commission of inquiry. Yes.
Yes,
Think about it again.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True.
As soon as it's linked with Kokoromuti, no. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Then we want to pay attention to it.
And true. And so you would want to convince people that I'm in a better position to manage your security and not touch on a sensitive issue. If I'm not able to deal with well, it could bring whatever positives or effort I'm communicating to you, I'm doing, everything down. And look, you can't eat your cake and have it. I don't think that we have to expect government or the president to touch on everything publicly, because some of the things are not good. And if you are communicating, it's an address. If you are communicating, you have to communicate the good things whilst you want to touch on the bad things less.
So this is what is going to happen because it's traditional. We know that the minority will come up with their state of the nation. So we look forward to
Did they say they will?
Yes, they will. Yes.
We're looking forward to it.
Who did I hear? I think it was Fifi Kwete.
Okay.
Yes, maybe.
We're looking for. I think we should look forward.
But even if you didn't say it, you know that it will come.
Yeah, definitely.
It's opposition now.
There's always a precedence to all these.
In the Daily Graphic, page 20. I thought we'll talk briefly about it just before we wrap up, unless we don't have time for this. It says 5 of the 17 defendants who were sued by the receiver of the defunct Unibank have filed an application at the Accra High Court seeking for an order directed at the receiver to provide them with certain documents. The application was filed by Dr. Kwabena Dufour, Holder Holdings Limited, Integrated Properties Limited, Alban Logistics, and Bolton Portfolio, with the receiver Ni Amano Dodu as the respondent. So lawyers for the 5 are expected to move the motion for the order to produce documents on March 4, 2019 at the Commercial Division of the Accra High Court. I guess that's where we leave it. We've got sports coming up, Roland?
Yeah, we've got sports definitely coming up.
But we've got the Nigerian elections coming up tomorrow. Hopefully, before we wake up tomorrow, there is no statement that says that is going to be
the elections have been aborted till some later date.
Exactly.
Definitely. I don't think that this one, if it's announced, Professor Yakubu does that, the Nigerian people are going to forgive him. Yeah.
We will talk about the Nigerian elections today.
Definitely.
There are some Ghanaians in Nigeria who are observing the process, and I know definitely that Peter McMenu went to Nigeria days before the earlier, the original date for the election, and he's been in Nigeria since, so he'll be a great person.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends who are still there too, Ghanaian media.
There's Elvis Efriankra, who's also been in Nigeria observing the process. So there's a lot to talk about as well.
Also there.
Exactly. Yeah. So we will discuss Nigeria elections later today. But after sports, we will have in studio the chairperson of the NCCE. We're talking about this call by the president, but they also, they've been busy. And they say they will be naming and shaming. What does the president's announcement yesterday mean? What does the follow-up? We've heard from the NPP and the NDC saying that they are committed. The NPP says, they are quickly writing a formal letter to the NDC. What does this all mean? Is this just nice words being said? Politicians trying to make us think that, they are, and then when we all relax, then they go back to their old selves. How can we monitor that they are truly committed to this banding, what they have now, that is haunting themselves as political parties and us as citizens? So you definitely would want to stay with us here on the AM show. We'll come back with sports details. There are a lot of football activities.
Yes, this weekend.
And the Joy FM Kids Olympics, the last one is happening at the Ghana International School this weekend. So we'll tell you how your child can be part of this last one if you missed the earlier two.